Hello, it's Monday. We're back here on a Monday, every Monday at the 2 o'clock hour-ish. Sometimes we start at 2, sometimes 2:41. Whatever. Monday Market 15, the 15-minute show that takes about 30 minutes. I'm here, Robin Morales, RCO Network. Here with me, my co-host, the lovely, the fabulous, the well-endowed, I won't tell you how, Ashley Miller.
Hello,
Miss Miller. How are you doing?
How am I?
Yeah, how was your weekend?
I just had a fabulous
Happy Mother's
trip.
Day. Happy belated Mother's Day. I didn't wish you Happy Mother's Day because I was putting up a closet. I was a dick. I'm sorry.
No, that's really nice of you to put up the closet. But we went to San Diego, last minute trip on Friday.
Blew out a tire, huh?
Decided to drive out there to go visit my best friend and her husband because she didn't make it out for the wedding. So she had surgery scheduled the day of the wedding. And so we spent the weekend out there and we did Legoland and the beach and San Diego Padres game. That's why my voice is a little raspy because I love
you're yelling and
baseball. Well, I love baseball. Like, I love it. So I just like scream and yell. So my voice is a little raspy.
Oh, that's okay. We accept you for. How's the housing market out there in California, Miller?
My girlfriend and I actually had this conversation. Yeah. She's had a lot of offers and she lives in a cul-de-sac, believe it or not. Her view got up Mother's Day morning and her husband, who's absolutely incredible, was making breakfast for everyone. And I was like, I just want to make breakfast right here because you know, their window and like the fresh air was coming through and they don't have anybody behind them. It's just like this gorgeous mountain. And it's absolutely stunning. He's like, no, get out of the kitchen. I'm like, I am not leaving here. Like, I'm going to stand right next to you just so I can like pretend. And like, I was like doing dishes just so I could look out the window and do dishes. Like, it was just
that is the mystique of California. That's why people pay exorbitant amount of prices for, really crappy homes.
When they keep getting all these offers and Joss and I were talking, she's like, absolutely not. This is my family home. Like, well, I want to leave a legacy. We're not selling it. So then we started talking about going to a real estate attorney, blah, 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 how we put clauses in because their kids are 10 and 6 and they're arguing over who's going to get, like who's going to leave the house, get the house once they like leave or whatever. I'm like, oh no, you can get a real estate attorney and say they can never sell it ever for the rest of their lives and they can only hand it down. And it was actually a really cute, fun conversation with little kids. Like we were educating like these littles on what that looks like. And that's so important to me. You know that, like education for our children on that. But
well, education is what we're here to do. We're here on a Monday to educate everybody here about the housing market in Phoenix. And the reason we named this show Cul-de-sac of Shiznats because Ashley heard some stuff about investors and people coming in and buying houses that aren't people.
No, they're not. They're not people. Well, I mean,
they are people
everyone
physically.
Physically, they're people, but they're companies.
But they're companies,
that are coming in, and I don't want to say the word intruding or encroaching because that sounds so like negative and rude. However, there are so many neighborhoods that have vacant homes.
Yep.
It's your neighbor who has weeds, taller than your kid, taller than you sometimes. And there's all these vacant homes that are bought by these hedge funds, and we've discussed this before. And we have no access to them. So the inventory of vacant homes is a lot higher than what is actually showing.
Yeah.
Not to mention these new builds. New builds, a lot of these investors are coming in, they're buying homes in bulk.
Yeah.
And then what they're doing is they're holding on to them and they're turning around and selling them, which is, again, lacking inventory for actual consumers who want to purchase homes.
Well, if you follow the stock market, you'll see that right now equities are a horrible investment. I think I looked at my portfolio today and I just turned it off because I am so glad I pulled out cash in January. I pulled out equities. I sold some stocks, and
you're talking about equity in stocks, not equity in your home.
Correct. Stocks. So I purchased some stocks and then I sold them in January, thinking I had a feeling with some of them. I do have some equities or stocks in there. But the ones that I do have are very minimal. I think I've lost like almost 50% at this point. Just horrible. And I think people are very mindful of those investments too, and then they go to real estate because real estate historically is an asset that appreciates for sure. Mm-hmm. In this environment, I don't believe, especially investors too, that they think there's going to be a pullback in the market, at least not as significant as there is in stocks. And it's a viable asset you can rent from, so you can make money even if you're losing money.
You can, and the best part, in my opinion, you guys will always hear me say like, buy land. And whether you gain a lot of quote unquote equity in a property that you pull out on and then you reinvest in more land, at the end of the day, your property is always going to have value. Yeah. Your stocks,
Yeah, they do fluctuate. Today,
I have one
do
stock
not
that
look
I
at your
actually,
portfolio.
I have
will
like
say.
literally lost so much money on that. I can't even believe I invested money in it. But at the time, it seemed like a good idea. Do you think if I would have spent that money on a piece of land, that I would be negative
I still got that land in Vernon
in
if you
it?
want. You know.
I know. I need a little more recon on that one. Yes. So
If you like going to New Mexico a lot, that could be a viable option.
New Mexico. I've only been there a couple times.
They got good green chili.
I do love green chili burgers especially. But land, so you can lose money on land. You can. I'm not saying you cannot.
Yeah.
However, if you're making the right choices and you're buying a parcel,
Yeah.
it may fluctuate and go up or down, but if you put your money into a parcel and you just let it be, it's going to go up, it's going to go down, but I can tell you the trajectory of it going up is going to be way higher than the stock market. There's going to be less flux.
Yeah, it depends on how you see the future. So there are short-term investors,
have a
long-term
crystal ball?
investors. There's how is that?
I'm just kidding.
Huh?
So do you have a crystal ball?
I have a couple crystal balls, but I don't have a cul-de-sac.
You do.
Which is the name of the show today. So we're talking about investors, talking about investments. And so I did pick up a new listing. So I wanted to show it to you first.
Yeah,
First here as we go. I will post it as we go. So if anybody's looking for a one-bedroom with AC, $180,000 lot. Ready for you right now, Ashley. If you want to be the first one to make an offer right now. No.
Oh, what type of insurance do I need for that one?
I didn't tell her I was going to pull that one out.
Hell, what are these things right here? What is happening?
That's
is that inflow and exit? Like,
hey, I don't know, but
don't
it looks
either.
it looks interesting and important.
And you get a friend.
Yeah, and Grogu's my friend.
Yeah, and you have shade. You have foliage. Like,
this is like in
you don't even need yard
I feel
work.
like I'm in Strawberry right now, which was coincidentally your wedding. So
it was coincidentally.
yeah. So anyway, I'm just floating around with that one. But
No,
so investments and investors have been tumultuous in this environment. I think they're the ones not necessarily solely responsible, because I do believe there's a lot of people out there. I want to say from the last time I looked at some of the ratios and stats, it was about 60% of investor owners are regular people that own an extra property. I'm one of those people. I own a condo. I own a home and a condo that I leverage off of personally for renting. And there are so many people out there that are purchasing or have purchased in a very low interest rate environment, a second, third home, to rent, and seeing the rental rates right now. I mean, why wouldn't you?
Well, that makes sense, because it's a benefit to both. Like, your family gets to enjoy it, or you get to enjoy it, and you get to profit off of it. It's a tax write-off. It's a profit. Like, there's that completely makes sense. What irritates me is that every fifth home, like 18 to 20% of properties are being picked up by an investor, which doesn't mean an actual individual like you and I.
Yeah.
Like, we're not investors. We're not registered as an investor, unless you are and you're like not telling me something. Are you registered as an investor?
There's a registry for that?
Well, no, like, you're not a hedge fund.
No,
You're not-
I don't.
No, you're just a human. You're not a fund.
Well, it depends on who you ask, but yeah, if you ask my ex-wife, I'm pretty sure I'm not a human.
You're so silly.
Just kidding. That was a
But
joke.
like, what you explain is like there's an inflation with the hedge funds, and they're taking this money, and then they can't keep cash in a bank account, right?
Yeah.
As you explained. So what are they doing?
They're buying other assets and buying other properties and keep that money moving,
Right.
because the one thing about hedge funds, they have to keep money flowing.
But they don't have anybody to manage these properties. That's how we started off. Is like, nobody's managing
Well,
them.
see, you're
so then you have a
looking at it
neighbor
from-
who has weeds higher than your freaking back wall.
Well, you're looking at it from a personal perspective. They're looking at it as a money thing. They don't care. They'll just pay the fine, the whatever. They'll pay it off. They'll pay
talk
a
about this
landscaper $100 to go take care of it, whatever. What they're doing is parking their money and not losing. What, 50% today? I'm just kidding. I'm exaggerating, but it was a good amount today that I lost. And anybody has a portfolio, I have mine mostly in Vanguard. I have another Webull account.
We don't want to talk about the stock market.
Oh, the stock market sucks. Do not look at your numbers today. They were horrible. I stopped looking. So markets they're already closed, but
No, it's changed. I did write down. So summer's coming, and summer in real estate is like
hot.
yeah.
Yeah, Yeah, you got me.
But,
We've been working too well together.
so May sales are, somewhere around 13%. And as we get further, so how I think about sales during the summer, right? I'm being a mom with multiple children.
Yeah.
I think I need to make a decision during the summertime before school starts again.
Yeah.
Right. But it's actually weird that the market is a little bit different. So sales during the summer actually decline because we're looking to make decisions before summertime.
Well, that's typically like May to June. That's the end of the selling season typically,
But we need to make decisions before that. So if your home hasn't sold prior to May, it's going to decline. So May is 13%.
Well, it's already declining.
Yeah, then we go to May, June. That's going to about 11%. Well, hold on. Yeah, 11%. In July, it's 10%. They're slowly declining. So if your home has not sold prior to the school season, let's just say hypothetically, and this is me just being biased on like in whatever area you live in, but it is historically known that home sales do decline during the summertime. So I feel like sellers are getting a little
well, you have
selfish.
The headwind right now is the interest rates. So the big thing is like sellers really have to determine whether or not if you're thinking about selling or you have to sell, you should be on market already.
Right.
And right now is that inflection point where you're going to get the most for your house and don't have to do really much of anything to, and I'm having conversations with 3 individuals right now to sell their house. And it's like, I wish I can get a prod to say, just do it now. If this is the intent and this is your desire, do it now. Do not wait any longer. I don't know what's going to be in another month.
None of us do. I didn't know that interest rates would raise 0.5, which is the highest. And
we're up 2 percentage points since January.
It's insane. Like this is the highest we've ever had. Like everyone's like, oh, it's like 2008. No, you guys, this is not like 2008 at all. If you actually did a little recon, this is literally the fastest and highest interest rates have ever raised since what it was like the Great Depression or something. I mean that's not completely accurate.
I don't know if that's an accurate statistic.
I know it's not, but it is the highest.
Yeah. I'm trying to pull up numbers.
We are not going into a recession right now.
So I'm going to pull up some mortgage interest rates just
please.
And we do have somebody in the room that could correct us if we're wrong.
Yeah,
but,
please correct us if we're wrong.
So you're let me try and get it.
6%.
That sucks percent. Right. I can't. Let me get your face out of there. So right now, yeah, your hair looks fine. So in Arizona, looking at about a $500,000 home, a 20% down payment, and your credit score is roughly about 700. You're looking at a 6% rate on average. So it's not until you get into the 640s.
20% down.
It's not until you get to the 640s, or I'm sorry, 740s that you see the interest rate decrease to 5.7. But if you are less, teetering
average,
on,
it's like
average.
640.
Look at that.
Holy guacamole!
7% out of 640.
Are you shitting me?
So am I shitting you? No.
So
I'm just looking at it with the same
but
time.
that brings up actually this will roll into my next thing I want to discuss.
Roll into it.
Homes that are for UCB. Under contract backup, right? Why would a seller right now go into a contract and then say, but we're accepting backup offers?
Because they're unsure about their offer.
So if I'm a seller, and
I will say, okay, so to preface it, the designation happens before the listing is even signed. Okay. So the real estate agent is the one that really decides. And there's 9 times out of 10, I don't think the agent's calling you and saying, hey, Ashley, I think we should accept backups after. Like, oh, okay.
Well, a lot of people don't know that. That's why I'm asking.
So most of the time, the sellers that I've dealt with are wanting to know how much their house is worth and how much they're walking away with, cash in hand. What am I walking with? How much am I going to take home? They don't really mind or care about pendings or if they're getting backups offers. They just want to know how much they're going to walk away with. So a lot of the listing agreement is somewhat predetermined by the listing agent. I mean, there are some of those discussions, but for the most part, it's an overwhelming experience, and you're just kind of going with whatever the agent tells you. A lot of times when I do have those discussions, like they're interested, I suppose. Mm-hmm. But 9 times out of 10, they just want to know how much they're walking away. What are you looking at me for?
I'm just laughing.
Why?
But so here I am.
Here you go.
I'm a seller.
Yes, you are a seller.
And I know that there's a backup offer, and I have a deal for a buyer coming in, and they're going to put down 20%, which is pretty typical. Well, I guess I shouldn't say typical. That ranges. There's so many different programs out there. But let's just say that back in the day when I was young and
Old school? Are we going old school?
Old school. So, but then backup offer. Now I'm thinking as a seller,
Okay.
cash offer. I'm going to accept a cash offer and I'm going to save my 3% because my agent, I only have to pay them 3% as my selling agent. But now I'm not having a buyer with a buyer's agent. So I'm thinking I'm selling $1 million home. I'm going to keep 30%. But guess what? I probably didn't read
30,000 or 30%?
30. I'm sorry. 3%, 30,000 is what I meant. I combined them together.
On $1 million house. So no.
I didn't read the fine lines, right?
So
explain this, because this was a scenario, not that I was buying $1 million home this morning, but this is a scenario that was presented to me being in title about the confusion.
So let me break it down. So there was let's say there's $1 million house. You have a listing agent. You have a signed listing agreement.
Right.
And let's say that listing agreement is for 6%. Mm-hmm. You have a cash buyer that says, hey, I'm underrepresented. I want to save you some money, but I'm going to give you a cash offer. I don't have an agent with me. You have to read the listing agreement. So the listing agreement basically articulates exactly how much you're paying the total commission for.
Right.
So if that total commission is 6% and there's no co-broke, if there's no other agent, that listing agent gets the full 6%.
So a lot of investors
There we go.
don't understand this. So this is a conversation I had this morning with an investor. He's like, well, I'm just going to go in and I want to try to not swoop it. That was the wrong word. Offer them something where I can come in. I'm going to offer them cash lower than their original contract.
Yes.
And I'm going to convince them that I'm going to, or not convince them, but let them know that I'm saving them 3%, which is $30,000. And I was like,
so if you're an unrepresented buyer with a cash offer, then the listing agent accepts and receives the full commission.
so there's no leverage.
So you would have to, in the additional clause section of your listing agreement, say that if a cash buyer comes in or investor comes in, that you will only take a certain amount of commission back.
So I think that people who are selling their property need to understand your contracts. Like, I know it's now 20 in Arizona, 27 pages. How long is the
listing agreement?
Yeah.
Oh, like 7.
Oh, I'm thinking of the contract. I'm sorry. That's really
like 9.
important because now the seller thinks that he's going to save $30,000 to sell it to an investor, which is not the truth because in the contract it said 6%.
Yeah, I'm just saying 6 because that's
It actually legit
common,
did.
yeah.
No, it did say that. So I'm confirming that it did say that. And obviously I haven't read the contract, so I don't know. And I'm like, well, that's not really how it works.
See, in those cases, I would, if you were the seller, renegotiate or talk to your listing agent or talk to your agent about like reestablishing the commission. Hey, this buyer came in, their cash offer, can you reduce your commission? If it's not articulated in the offer, which it shouldn't be because your listing agreement is sole and separate from your purchase contract.
Correct.
Because the purchase contract is between you as a seller. She needs to take her medication.
I already did. I already did right before this. So I'm okay.
So the listing, the contract, the purchase contract is separate from the listing agreement. Listing agreement is between you and the agent. The purchase contract is between you and the buyer. So that's completely separate, and that should be negotiated outside of the purchase contract.
Right. But the fact that you just stated that when a cash buyer comes in, the actual seller has an opportunity to say, hey, I found my own buyer.
Yeah.
Can we renegotiate? So let's just say it was you. Yeah. You're the agent. Would you be like, yeah, we can renegotiate? Or would you be like, no,
absolutely.
Sorry, you signed this contract?
I've been in those situations where, I was only anticipating getting the 3% or whatever, sure. or shorter than that. And so in those situations where it just kind of happened, obviously my interest is more in the relationship. I want to preserve the friendship more than anything else because that's the long-term solution. It's not the immediate gain. Sure, it's more money, but I would rather have that person in my life rather than screw up. And
so that leads me to the next question is
sure. We have a question, but
so this gentleman was like, well, my listing expires in 5 days. So I can just wait the 5 days and then I can turn around and sell it to this person. But
Read your contract.
what happens is,
So if you read the listing agreement, there is a clause in there too that has a term, and it's filled in. So the listing agent fills it in. I fill it in for 90 days. You'll have some agents that fill it in for 180, but it's a clause that basically says if you sell the house outside of the listing agreement. So if a cash buyer comes and says, hey, I know your listing agreement cancels, 5 days.
5 days.
You'll
Don't
wait 5
tell
days, and
anybody.
I'll give you a cash offer. Your listing agent can come back and sue you and say, hey, you know what? There was a clause in there that says if you sell within that time frame that I put in there, then I'm still owed a commission, because they could have worked for it. I mean, I don't know the circumstance, but there is a clause in there that you'd be very mindful for in terms of how long that is after the listing contract expires.
So it's very, I guess the point of this whole conversation was that, yes, inventory is getting higher, demand is getting lower.
Do you want to see?
Yeah, sellers are.
Here, let me show you. So we have a pseudo, statistical. We look at this every week. So with the beginning of the year, we're running at about 4,000 listings on average, and so we pulled up Armless, and this is how many listings we have today.
I love my Morristown.
So when you see percentages, if you get on in the YouTubers and you see other things that are like, hey, inventory is up 20%. Yeah, it literally is. It's up 20%. When you have 1,000 listings over like 4,000 listings, that's up 20%. So we are acquiring inventory, or at least it's staying on market a little bit longer, but we're not anywhere near where we need to be for this time of year. We should be roughly 35,000, not 6,000. Yes,
Question.
There's something like
manifest it real quick. So
right at the tip of her lips.
We're talking about the builders, right?
Yeah.
So the builders. So you're the builder.
Yeah.
I'm the investor. I buy it. I list it. Find a way to list it, or can I not? I don't know. Like, I'm just making up a scenario. Like, can I list it as an investor because I also have my real estate license on the MLS, turn around and sell it to somebody else and count that as inventory?
Well, you can't list it because it's not your home, but you can wholesale it. So you could throw out emails, and that's basically when you purchase a brand new home as an investor, as a cash buyer, and you reassign it or try to procure a new buyer for that. So you have very little money into it. You use somebody else's money to basically take a fee.
Right.
That's wholesaling. So wholesalers cannot relist a property that's not theirs. So what they do is they will take a property, be in contract with a house. So let's say a $300,000 house, they'll offer you $300,000, and then they'll go try to sell it for $350,000, $400,000, whatever the price they want to charge, and then they'll take that difference as a fee. That's wholesaling. They have no stake in the game. They have no ownership, but they reassign the money. They use somebody else's money to buy the property, and then they take a fee for it. It's like a finder's fee. So if you want to do that with
that's not necessarily a bad idea to buy a house. I bought my house from a wholesaler.
You got cash?
Well, I used somebody else's money.
Ashley Miller money bags. I like that.
No, I used somebody else's money.
Oh, well, yeah. But that's smart. That's smart of you to do, because you made a small fee of that. Right?
So I think that goes into another educational moment. I feel like we're like, what is it called?
Educational Moment by Ashley Miller here. First time.
PBS, back in the day.
Monday Market 15's Ashley Miller moment of, I don't know, what can we call it?
It's an educational moment.
Educational moment. That's not sexy enough.
No, that's so not.
Ashley Miller moment. Ashley Miller minute? This is an Ashley Miller minute.
We're working on it. And I'm not going to be Ashley Miller very much longer. Well, I don't know.
Perkins.
Still working on this.
Okay, anyway. We're running on a tangent. So go ahead.
One of the things I do want to remind home buyers is they do have an opportunity to use other people's money. And I'm not just talking about institutional money, like a regular bank. You can find hard money people that you can temporarily use. It's a temporarily, like, it's kind of like a bridge, like a gap. So you're like, oh, I love this house. Find a hard money lender. You purchase it as like almost like you're the wholesaler. Then once you purchase it, you can turn around and go to the bank, your regular bank, but hopefully get pre-approved by your regular bank first before you do this, because then you can end up losing your ass.
Well, most of the time it's not a bank though. It's they usually
there's different things.
I mean, you can wherever you get the money source. I mean, just letting you know.
Right. There's so many different entities, and so I suggest that it's so relevant. Like, read your contracts. Like, legit, read your contract.
I would suggest that, yes. That is a very good,
understand that there are going to be a lot of properties out there that you see that 6,502, I believe it was.
6,500. Yeah.
6,500, yeah. 6,510. There are actually more properties out there that are available, so door knocking is not a bad idea. And if you door knock, you can use Roberto as like, oh, do you see how I said that? That's so good. You can use him as a resource, and like, you know, honestly, like if you want to turn around and buy it for a FSBO, for sale by owner, pay Robert a flat fee to make sure that the entire contract he reads every single line, so you're not screwed.
I read a lot of contracts, yes.
A lot, and a lot of them are convoluted.
There's a lot of outs, and usually the person that presents the offer, there is a lot of outs for. So that's something. So I guess if we're getting into contract, like a negotiation, or at least understanding how contracts work, the person presenting the offer typically has a lot more outs than the person accepting it. So that's one.
That is true.
The other part too is that anything in bold or in like italicized or if it's not normal. If it's not normal font, then it's something you should pay particular attention to. That's usually getting somebody out of a circumstance. So those are the things in contracts that you really have to pay attention to. Is when whoever's presenting it usually has a lot of outs. So the buyer, in effect, has a lot of outs, even up to close. Like, this is why it's important to read your contracts, or at least somebody that represents you that knows contracts. For a buyer, there are so many times that they can be out of a contract. It's not just the inspection period. They can be out of that if there is an appraisal contingency. They can be out of it if you presented the, let's say, the SPUDs or the seller disclosures, or the insurance claims history. If you gave that to them the last day, they have 5 days to review that,
right? And
they can still cancel the contract even at close of escrow. If you presented the insurance claims history at close of escrow, you have 5 days to review that, and you can still cancel the contract.
So I have a question.
You're the only one here.
Okay, cool. So I'm the seller, and I'm not aware that my agent did a UCB under contract backup offer, right? I think everything's fine. Yes. Everything's great. It's moving along, not knowing maybe they didn't disclose. What if something were to happen and we're getting to the last moment, in that I'm already scheduled my movers, I already have my new property, like I'm going through this whole process. We don't get a backup offer and the current offer falls out.
Usually in this market environment, you usually get about 3 to 4 offers. If it's priced right, you'll get several offers. And so most of the time, because this market is so crazy and there's people making multiple offers on multiple listings at a time, one of those most of the time will be available to buy the house.
Well, why would an agent during this type of environment put it in or on the MLS with a UCB? Why? Because we're getting so many offers and so many houses. Like, why would somebody do that?
Well, so to help people, the two designations are pending and then under contract accepting backups. So basically, when you go pending, if you have a listing agreement that says you're not gonna accept backup offers, you're just gonna put it on the MLS as pending, and then you take nothing. I honestly don't understand why there's 2 designations, but it's really nuanced. Because like if you are in contract, most of the time you're not going to get a backup offer. I mean, your property, unless it's like, I don't know, Betty White's property that sold for like, what, $4 million or whatever it was. You're not going to get a backup offer. Even if you do, it's people that, made an offer, and, this market is just weird. But there really isn't a difference between the designations in the fact that you're still on market. You still can advertise even after you accept a contract. But it's really kind of like, honestly, stupid to submit an offer if they already had several and they're already in contract for one.
And then that's what I'm trying to understand. So like, I want to hit this as like a take it home, like home run, like the Padres game the other day. What? No, I'm not any Padres fan. My best friend is, so I'm representing.
I didn't follow that.
That's okay. I talk really fast sometimes. Is we, at the end of all of this in this crazy economy, we have, if I'm going to hit my pillars, we have sellers.
Yes.
that might be a little bit on their high horse still. Inventory is growing and demand is lower, so they need to kind of take it down a notch. Yeah. Understanding what your agent is doing.
Yes.
and what your contract actually reads, what actually reads. No, it's important. Like if it reads, like if you're like, I decided I'm not going to do this, like we talked about, but then it says, whatever, 30 days after our contract's over, if you end up getting, you still have to pay me. Like, know where your money's going. Understand where your money is going. And if you have an investor come in, have that conversation with your agent. That's extremely important. Door knock if you're a buyer for some of these hedge funds. You never know.
Yeah.
I just like it. There's so many. There's
so many things. I mean, it just. I guess it depends on which perspective. If you're a buyer or for a seller, there's so many things. I just know this market, and we're at the end of the show, so we're gonna finish up with some stats a little bit. We did have a question. I don't know if Ashley, you want to answer this. So, is it more beneficial to build on your own land in terms of building equity quicker? What is your experience?
You know me. I think, and this is just my opinion, take it for what it's worth. This is not factual by any means.
Not factual.
Buy land. Understand the land you're buying.
You're a land. You are.
I do. I know.
She's a lander.
My family's from a small town, land, so buy land.
There's a little bit of a bias there. So
know if you have electricity, well, water, where that is all at. Understanding building materials. All building materials are going to be inflated if you are purchasing a new build. In terms of building equity quicker, it depends on who's building your house. Are you paying somebody to build? So building equity quicker, you're always going to build equity on your own property, that you own the land physically. In a new build, you're just your neighbor is like, you're like, hey neighbor, like you're afraid to open your blinds because your neighbor's going to see you naked, right? If you have land,
well, it depends if they're living next to you. Yes,
true. But I honestly, I would say buy land. Build it slow and build it slow. In Morristown. And if you're not in a hurry to move and you want to build a place, you and your husband, or build a place for your kids to have a space, buy slow and steady, or buy now and build slow and steady, because equity, it's always going to grow.
Yeah, and I would say it depends. Really, from my perspective, if you buy land to build on, are you building a house? Or are you building, typically what people build is a manufactured home. Manufactured homes, in my experience, really don't don't appreciate. In a normal market, you really don't appreciate. The land appreciates far greater than the actual home does with a manufactured home.
Just buy land, rent an RV, and slowly build your house for the next 5 years.
Is that your advice?
Yeah.
We're not financial advisors by any chance. We're not financial advisors by any chance. But if you do build your own home and follow Ashley's word, it's purely coincidental. Anyway, but no, and typically with manufactured homes, they don't appreciate. If you build a single family residence, like a brick and mortar, a stick home.
Stick built,
you will tend to gain more appreciation than if you build manufactured. But people who buy land typically put manufactured on there, and the land value ends up appreciating more than really the cost of the manufactured home. It's just on average, If we go back to a normal market, which is what I'm hoping, because it's nice to actually work with buyers and sellers on an equal level. Right now I have about 6 buyers, and it's really competitive. And some of them are just regular people wanting a regular home, and they're subject to this environment.
Regular people. Sorry.
Well, they are. I mean, it's just people.
I know.
They're not investors.
Right, I know.
Because that's a cul-de-sac of shiznets.
Yep,
anyway.
We have that here.
Just looking at some stats here, we're more at a balanced market. Let me pull this up. As far as buyer demand, buyer index is more at a balanced market. Look at it. Can you believe that? We went from the beginning of the year where demand was just skyrocketing to now a balanced market, which is amazing.
We're in the yellow. Oh, look, and I wore like yellowishy today. Ooh,
you are a balanced demand index.
I actually am very balanced. Look at my balancing.
Oh boy. So we need more whiskey. And then if you look at, I had other stats, but they resurfaced. So, but right now, I guess, let me just go back to us.
You can go back to, us.
I have that. I don't have anything else. The page that I had refreshed, so I don't have that. But right now, it's still challenging. Right, from my perspective, I've been working with buyers predominantly. I have basically 3 listings coming up. And I have a couple still in Vernon. If anybody's interested in Vernon, it's a good place to buy some land. And
I'm just going to take note of it again.
Vernon, Arizona. So it's about an hour away from the New Mexico border. If you like New Mexico, it might be a good viable
Close
option.
to Greer. Ish.
I don't know where it's Pine, Arizona. Vernon's next to Pine Top.
Oh,
Not
Pine
Pine.
Top.
Pine Top, sorry.
Yeah, Pine Top is different
there
than
is a
Pine,
between
you guys.
Pine and Pine Top.
Yeah, so that's more east by like Snowflake, Sholo, like that whole Greer, that whole way. Yeah, it's like it's a little bit. It's like a little.
It's
mini
closer to where
Mexico.
Ashley got married.
No, it's so not. We got married in Pine.
You got
not
married in
Pine
Strawberry.
Top.
She got married in Strawberry.
Well, Pine Strawberry. They literally like it. You know what separates them? Like a convenience
Your
store.
attitude. Any comments or questions, Miss? Do we have anything else before we end up
No,
today?
I think I really love the education
Yeah.
with the investors and reading your contract. I honestly, even being in title, I had, this is kind of like ignorant of me, that if a cash buyer comes in, you still have to pay unless it's in your contract. I mean, these are great little pieces that people need to know, and you're always
I
good
think-
at being honest.
Yeah, if your agent is upfront and honest about everything, I mean, you'll know. I think, like I said, the bottom line for a lot of sellers out there is really how much am I making, what am I going to walk away with, and can I buy something else? Where are you going? There's so many questions that need to be answered. And there's no one word answer, no one word scheme to kind of get you where you want to go.
No, it's just a money sign. It's not even a word. It's just a money sign.
Is that what girls want? They just want money.
Hell no. If I wanted money, I would have married Rich a long time ago.
Who's
Old
Rich?
guy
Who's
who was on
Rich?
his deathbed and married Rich.
Oh, married rich.
I would have. Oh, who's Rich?
I'm like, who's? Oh boy.
You're so
Anyway,
silly.
that's where we ended. So, any other questions, Miss? Before
No,
we end
I
it?
think this is awesome.
So, as we end today, we are in an environment where buyers, I think, are transitioning into a buyer's market. It'll take a few months, so just hang in there, be a little optimistic, work with your agent, and be hopeful. I think is really the thing. We're in an inflection point. Things are getting better. So, if you're a buyer, hold on, because the ride's it's still a little rough, but we're getting there. Ms. Miller,
Yes.
thank you so much. Ashley Miller, Great American Title. Also, Rob Morales, RCA Network. We're going to be back here next Monday, maybe. I don't know.
We
maybe
are
on time.
What? Oh, not on time. Never.
Hold on. Let me do it again. We'll be back here next Monday at Monday Market 15. So if you want any questions, drop a comment, and we'll get to them as soon as we can. But Ashley Miller, thank you, Miss.
Yes, my pleasure. We'll see you guys. Take care.
Next week. See ya.